Hi, crafty friends. Okay, so what we're doing today is working on one of my memory pages. So these are some 6x8 pages that I make in Project Life. I start off with a 12x12 page, but then I actually cut it into a 6x12. So this is going to be August. I'm using Ali Edwards' August Stories by the Month to record my memories. So what I do on these, I actually really love them. They kind of break up my album into months, and I like to put just kind of the funny things that the kids do or say, and anything that happened big in our family, anything that is momentous or a milestone. And it's really fun to look back and read some of these and the funny, quirky things that the kids do or say and places that we've been. So I'm just pulling this into the Studio app, which is where I love to add freeform text. It's much easier than adding it in the native Project Life app freeform text. And I basically just format it the way that I like it, space it out a little bit, and then I will continue using this as I pull in other cards. And I just use the exact same one and copy paste over the top of it. The app that I'm using for my notes is One Day at Journal app. Is that what it's called? I believe. Maybe I'll show that in a second. But I'm pulling that day one. It's day one journal. That's what it is. So the other app that I love to use is Word Swag, and it just kind of does funky fonts. Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it doesn't work so well, but I can usually manipulate it the way that I want. And I believe in this video, I have one of those situations where I have to really manipulate it. In fact, it might even be this one. So this was my 4-year-old, now 4-year-old. He was turning 4, and he was super excited that he was going to now get 2 gummies instead of 1 of his multivitamin gummies. So like I said, just little silly, funny, cute things that I want to remember about the kiddos. So I'm copy pasting my journaling into Word Swag. I have the card that I'm wanting to use, which is actually the Stories by the Year kit, and just formatting that the way that I like it. I actually really like that one that stretched all the way across, but I did not like that it kept putting M: on the top line only. So I'm just hitting the mix up button and trying to get it to do what I actually want it to do and not have an M only on the very top line. It probably would have been fine to leave it that way. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to turn off the auto breaks. Sometimes if you go in and you put a new paragraph line in, it'll change the way that it formats it. But this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, that sometimes I do have to kind of tinker with it. So I'm going to turn off the auto breaks so that I can dictate where I actually want it to go to the next line instead of having it dictate. And it gives you a little bit more control of the way that it's going to look. But then sometimes it doesn't do as fun of fonts or font arrangements. So there we go. I finally got it kind of the way that I wanted. I'd like it to be a little bit wider, so I'm putting some of those lines back together, just reformatting until I get it the way that I like. So I'm finally going to get it here. This is going to be good enough. I'm going to bring down the opacity here in just a second. There we go. Getting it sized, and it actually puts crosshairs when you get it to the right spot. I did not bring down the opacity. I thought I did on that one. So then I'm just going to throw that back into the Project Life app, put it in my little 3x4 card slot, and now I'm looking to see what the next one is. I pre-populate this with the cards as I get the story kits by the month, just so that I have a rough idea of what I'm going to put in there. I usually keep them pretty similar. Sometimes I change things around just depending on what stories I have. So I'm going to grab another story. It's going to be a longer story, so I'm going to actually open this up in Studio again. And like I said, I'm just going to go in and I'm actually going to replace that journal card. And if anybody needs help with how to do this part of it, I could always do a video that's a little bit slower. So I'm going to select all, copy paste. I've got new new font in there, size it down a little bit, and see what I'm saying. I just literally use it over the top of the same one over and over and over again, because I really don't have any need to keep the old one. I have my journaling in a place. I know what card it's on. If I ever need to go back and make edits, then I can. It's not the end of the world to me, and I just don't need to store that many things on my phone. So get this one exported and put that back into the Project Life app. Put it in the little card slot. There we go. Okay. And now I am looking, and I have used all but one story, I believe, and I have 2 slots to put stories in, so I don't need that one anymore. I'm going to actually change it out to a different card. I'm going back into Stories by the Month kit that I have saved on my phone in an album, and I'm just looking at the different August quotes that I could use, and so that's actually last year's August quote, and that is or maybe it might even be 2019, 2020, I'm not sure. Either way, changing it out so that it's a quote instead. And I think I end up can't remember which one I end up going with. I think I end up going with the 2022 one in the end. So now I'm going to once again copy paste over the top of that. I'm going to get the card that I am looking for, the August this and that. Select all, copy paste the journaling that I have saved already. Make sure that it is there's no typos. I'm notorious for typos. I used to have a big issue with having typos. Now it doesn't really bother me anymore. I just kind of go with it. If you know what I mean to say, then good enough. Okay, so we're going to get that text in there and export this out. There we go. And once we get that just the way that we like it, I am going to export it and pop it back into Project Life again. So recents, pop that in. And now the next part is adding my collect collage to the August card. So I'm gonna switch over here. I went in there and I realized I didn't have all of August finished. So I hurried up and finished August up. I knew you didn't want to watch me journal on all of those. I'm going to export the collage, which I actually went to the wrong spot there. So you want to create the collage, and I always use the cardinal, and it's just a little square, and I like to add a border to it. So once we get that saved, Collect is a wonderful app. It is no longer supported, and I'm worried that it's not going to be around for much longer. So as soon as I do anything in it, I try to save it to my Dropbox just so that I have a copy of it somewhere. I'm a little bit behind on doing that for this year, but I should probably go in and export everything that I have up to this date at least. Okay, so it's going to take it a little bit for it to generate that. It is always it's either super fast or super slow. It gets stuck on certain pages for me, at least at this point in time. So we're going to save that to Dropbox. I also saved it to my phone. And then once we've got all of that exported, I am going to take it into, yep, that's not what we wanted to do. Okay, so I'm also going to go ahead and save those individual cards to Dropbox while I'm in here. So good job me. Now I need to go back and do some of the other months. And I like to do the 3x4 cards and the 4x6 cards. I like to do I only do the 4x6 landscape because I hardly ever use the 4x6 portrait. So we're back into the Studio app, and I just got a square white square so that I can put this on top. You'll see why in a second. I just like to add a border to it, a little matte behind it. So that's all I'm going to do to it. I put a shadow on it and then took the shadow back off because I'm actually going to put the shadow on the matte instead once I put that into the card. So we're going to go and open up that August font card from the Story by the Month kit. There it is. And we're going to pop that right on top of there, and now it has a mat on it. So now I can add the shadow and position it the way that I want it. And I like to usually add a chipboard piece or some sort of embellishment on this card. Sometimes I will even, if something really major happened, then I will sometimes even add some text via word swag again, just something fun along the side. So we're going to go to my Dropbox and pull out the August stories by the month and find the chipboard shapes and see if any of those might work. Sometimes it takes a while for these to load. Perfect. And then I kind of thought that guy looks a little bit lonely there and it needed something to ground it. So what I'm going to do is one of my favorite little tricks, because I have Studio Free. And if you go in and you try to grab a shape, it is always in the Pro account. So I just type an L. I find a flat, straight L. So I'm going through the fonts here. I want something that is chunky, but straight up and down. And then you can change the color of it. So I'm just picking up that purple out of the journal card, and I'm changing that little L, that little text L, into purple. And I am turning it and making it big, and I all of a sudden just have a nice little shape or washi tape or whatever you want to call that. And I'm going to go up and move that down to the lower level layer so that it looks like it's behind all of that. And I like the way that looks, so I'm going to save that, export it out into my photos, pull up Project Life again, pop that in, and there we go. I'm going to export that all to my Dropbox, and I will print that through Persnickety Prints. And like I said, once I get that, that right side will be the front and the left side will be the back, and it'll be a 6x12 page. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.